just... Hey there, creepy peeps. It is movie review time again. I just saw the movie It Follows, directed by David Robert Mitchell, and I thought I would share my thoughts with you guys on the movie. So It Follows is about a girl named Jay who kind of has this, on IMDb it says sexual encounter, but basically she has sex with this guy she is seeing, and after the deed is done, he tells her that now that he has had sex with her, he's passed this thing along to her and it's gonna follow her. He tells her the only thing she can do is pass it along to somebody else. That's about all we know about it. It's passed along via sexual intercourse, and it just walks straight for the person that it's after, and it can take the form of anybody, but people that haven't had it passed to them cannot see it. That's the basic premise of the movie. So Jay gets this thing passed along to her, and she gets her friends involved because she's terrified, because the movie the movie does a really good job of making something as simple as somebody walking towards you very scary. I read on IMDb that the plot or the story for this movie came from a recurring nightmare that the director had of somebody just slowly walking after him. And I can see how that would be a nightmare. That is actually really, really scary, because that's all the thing does. It just walks straight for you until it gets to you. So that's where our character kind of has a leg up on it. It only walks towards her. So if she can get in a car and drive away, then she's bought herself some time until the thing can catch up to her. So basically, through the movie, we have kind of this, Jay has this struggle within herself and with other characters about whether she should kind of give in to the cycle and pass it along to somebody else, or try and face the thing head on and try and stop it, or just let it kill her, I guess. But if it does kill her, it kind of goes Final Destination style to just go down the line of people who have passed it on before if she doesn't, or if she lets it kill her. This movie was a film festival movie, I believe. I'm not sure which one it kind of premiered at, but clearly it was a big hit, because now it's being released in kind of mainstream theaters. I saw it at an AMC. I really, really, really enjoyed this movie. They kind of use some, I don't know how to explain. It almost feels like artsy in a way. There's a lot of weird shots, kind of shots where the camera just kind of spins in a circle. You kind of get the feeling that you're kind of supposed to be looking for it when it does that. And there's a lot of really wide shots on things, which I found during the movie. Anytime there was like a wide shot and you see Jay kind of in the foreground a little bit, I was scanning the background of the scenes the entire time because I was looking for somebody walking towards her. So I found this movie made me really paranoid, and I'll be honest, as I left the theater and as I was walking from my car even into my house, I kept looking over my shoulder. It's the simplest thing that just built this tension and was really quite terrifying. You wouldn't think just somebody walking towards you would be terrifying, but I don't know, it's just the way that the actors walk and just stare at her. It's just freaky. I also found that this movie, I don't really know why or what purpose it served, but Mitchell, the director, he did a lot of like kind of Wes Anderson-y shots where like there's a lot of establishing shots or wide shots that were really symmetrical. I mean, the whole movie wasn't like that, but I just saw that there was a lot of a lot of wide shots that were really symmetrical. I don't really know what purpose that served, but it looked nice. One thing I really loved about this film was the score. The score was amazing. It was just like this weird synthy kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It was just this weird synthy kind of music, and it really reminded me of an 80s slasher movie, which I really dug. And I think it doesn't outright say what decade this movie is set in, but I'm pretty sure it's 80s. I'm pretty sure this movie is supposed to be set in the 80s. So the soundtrack kind of supports that, as well as like the technology the actors are using, and the clothing a little bit kind of lends itself to the 80s a bit. So before I saw this movie, long before I saw this movie, I read a few articles on sites like Fangoria, Bloody Disgusting, Dread Central, stuff like that, about how this movie, or I guess people were portraying this movie as like a big metaphor for STDs and kind of like for STDs and sex and rape, even though she doesn't get raped in the movie. But after they have sex, he hits her with some chloroform and ties her up so he can explain the it that is following her. I did see a lot of, I don't know if it was because I was looking for them in the movie or I had this in my head before I saw the movie, but I did notice a lot of things that kind of lent itself to that did kind of resemble, you know, living with an STD. I mean, I personally wouldn't know anything about that, but I imagine, I mean, it's called It Follows, and the only way you can pass on this thing is through sex. And the part that I really noticed kind of supported this STD metaphor was the fact that even after Jay has passed along it to somebody else, she can still see it. Remember I said earlier that people that haven't had it passed to them before, they can't see it. So when she's freaking out over somebody following her, the other characters are like, what? I don't see anything. Who is it? Stuff like that. They can't see it, but she can. So anyone that has had it passed along to them, even if they've already passed it on and it's not after them, they can still see it. So I kind of took that as, even if you've passed it to somebody else, even if say you have something that is curable or manageable, it still is with you and you still notice it and it's never truly gone. So I kind of got that vibe. So I kind of thought the fact that she can still see it even after she's passed it on kind of supported that, like it's still with her and she can still never truly be rid of it because she'll still be able to see it. I also kind of had this idea, you guys can let me know in the comments if this is completely far-fetched, but just all the 80s-ness of this movie made me think of kind of our classic 80s slashers. And in the 80s, a really big trend in horror movies was vice precedes slice and dice. You misbehave, you die. If you're drinking or doing drugs at a party, you're gonna die. If you have premarital sex, you're gonna die. So I don't know, I just kind of had this idea that this movie was kind of hearkening back to those values. And I thought it was really ironic that, well, for one, the people who do have sex, you know, are being punished. She has premarital sex with this guy and he passes it on to her. So she, you know, in a way she's being punished for having premarital sex. What I found ironic about it was the fact that in order to pass it along and in order to be rid of this, she needs to have sex again. So it's ironic. It's making them do that thing that got them in trouble in the first place to get them out of trouble, if that makes any sense. I also kind of got the feel that this movie was saying, don't take sex so lightly. Because in this movie, Jay has quite a lot of sex. She passes it on twice, or she tries to pass it on twice. Both times, it's like it's sex for a purpose. Like there's no, you can tell in the scene, there's no feeling behind it. She's having sex to pass this thing along. And even the guys that she's having sex with know, especially after the first encounter, the guys that she's having sex with know that it's going to be passed on to them. So there's no like feeling or love or emotion behind it. And after she has sex with one of her friends, Paul, the very last person she passes it along to, after the deed is done, he asks her, do you feel any different? She says no, and asks him, do you feel any different? And he says no. And I kind of just got this feeling that like it was kind of telling me, don't take sex so lightly. Anyone who has seen the movie out there, let me know if you kind of got that idea as well, or if I'm just going off on a limb here. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I would highly recommend going to see it if you are able to see it wherever you are. If you have seen it, or when you do see it, let me know in the comment section what you thought of the movie, because I don't know, I feel like I got a lot out of this movie. I'm sure most of you out there feel the same way. I really enjoy movies that make you think, because then it's not just for entertainment or mindless entertainment anymore. It's making you think about things, and I really enjoy that. And this movie made me think about a lot. Like on the car ride home, I was just like in deep thought the whole time. I was just like, whoa, man, whoa. That's all I have for you for this video. As always, I will write a longer review and a longer discussion that you can read at NightmareMaven.com if you wish, no pressure. And if you feel so inclined, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. And until next time, stay strange. Bye.